Committee Room 30, signed. 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 Signed. Committee Room 21, 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 signed. Committee Room 21. 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 Signed. Committee Room 21, 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 signed. Committee Room 21. 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 Signed. Committee Room 21, 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 signed. Committee Room 21. 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 Signed. Committee Room 21, 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 signed. Committee Room 21. 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 Signed. Committee Room 21, 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 signed. Committee Room 21. 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 Signed.
Okay, I'd like to welcome anyone who's listening in to the 41st meeting of the ERA Committee. We're in public session and we're recorded. You're welcome to use your mobile devices as long as they're in airplane mode, and all devices are muted, and it's not permitted to take photographs or record any of this meeting. Declaration of interest. Are there any new interests that haven't been declared at our first meeting and are relevant to matters under consideration this week? No. Apologies. The only apology we have is Robbie, who is unable to make it today, and that is why I am the chair. And I don't think we have anyone attending by Zoom. We have a full house apart from Robbie. I'd like to welcome Aoife Finnegan to the committee. I'm sure we all wish her well and very much looking forward to her valued contribution to the committee. So you're very welcome, Aoife, to the committee. And also thank Nicola for her work in the committee and wish her well on the infrastructure committee, and I believe she's on the communities committee as well. And if you have any comments, members content that we send a letter to Nicola, thank her for her work in the committee.
Agreed.
Great. Okay, members, prior to this meeting we held an informal meeting on MS Teams with the chair of the UK Government Migration Advisory Committee. I propose that the committee team write a note of this meeting and we can consider it next week. Is that okay, members? Page 5 of the pack is notification from DAFRA that the Agricultural Supply Chain Adjudicator team have launched a 2-week survey in relation to fair dealing obligations, Milk Regulation 2024, which will apply to all new and existing agreements for the purchase of cow's milk in less than 5 months. The survey aims to help understand the current level of awareness of the regulations and the role of the ASCA in handling complaints and enforcing the new rules. The survey closed on the 28th of February. Members, you okay to note? Okay. Members, item 4, I refer you to a letter from the Minister, page 6 of the pack, dated the 14th of February, from the Minister on the OEP's bathing water regulations review. I also refer to page 7 to 12 of the pack for a copy of the Department's response to the report, which outlines its responses to the 11 recommendations made by OEP. The OEP report concludes that the Bathing Water NI Regulations 08 are broadly being implemented effectively in terms of monitoring, classification and reporting obligations. Also states that the application of the regulations has seen significant improvements in bathing water since the regime was introduced in the 1990s, albeit that it comments on some recent stagnation and decline. Content to note or any comments, members? Yeah.
Chair, sorry. I spoke to the Northern Ireland representative of the OEP yesterday, and hopefully we'll get a briefing post-Easter on the range of reports that they have published recently.
Good. Thank you, Janice. Item 5, I refer to page 4 of the table papers. Invitation from the Centre for Public Policy and Administration to a seminar, The Potential for Artificial Intelligence in the Public Sector. It will be held on the 15th of April at the Riddle Hall, Queen's University. Members, content to note. Agenda item 3, 13th, for the minutes of the 13th of February, pages 14 to 28 of the pack for the draft minutes dated the 13th of February, and to pages 29 to 33 of the pack for the draft minutes dated the 17th of February. Apologies from the team, the heading in the pack says 20th, not the 17th, but the minutes are correctly dated the 17th. Member, have you any comments, or are you content with the minutes as drafted?
Content.
Okay, I will sign these and they'll be published on the website. Item number 4, matters arising. Please note that 2 responses from the Minister on the draft Farm Sustainability Transition Provisions Regulations NI 25 are included there on pages 35 and 39 in the pack. These responses have previously been considered by the committee and had been included in the pack in case further discussion on the draft SR was required. Today, however, the draft SR was agreed yesterday by the Assembly.
Sorry, apologies, Chair. That's why it wasn't yesterday.
Sorry, not yesterday, it was Tuesday. Members, okay to note?
Yep.
Okay. Members, the response from the Minister dated the 13th of February at pages 48 to 49 of the pack regarding aquaculture NI. The committee wrote to the Minister following the briefing from the NI Aquaculture Representatives Group at the meeting on the 6th of February. The letter encouraged them to use opportunities that the Food Strategy Framework provides as a vehicle to reverse the decline and develop aquaculture in NI. We also sought his comments on how to achieve that potentially through an action plan specific to aquaculture. The Minister confirms that the fish and marine, rather than the aquaculture, are included within the scope of the NI Food Strategy Framework and is keen to work with Aquaculture NI to promote greater awareness and consumption of our local fish. The Minister states that work is ongoing to develop a cross-departmental action plan for the framework and that the forthcoming Fishery Bill offers opportunity to amend the legislative framework for aquaculture regulation. Dear states that the ARG members have been meeting regularly with the Bill team in a co-design and consultation on the new policy and is anticipated to take place this spring. Members, do you have any comments? Are you happy enough to copy the response to the ARG? Okay. Members, refer to you to the response to the Department on the 13th of February at pages 52 to 54 of the pack regarding the TB Partnership Steering Group. Members, we wrote to the Department following our meeting on the 30th of January seeking confirmation on the role of the Chief Veterinary Office on the new TPSG and the fact that AFBI did not seem to be on the group. The response states that the CVO is the chair of the TBPSG and this role is representing the Department and will be meeting AFBI soon to discuss our initial assessment and feedback on the CVO report. The Department states that the TBPSG is made up of key stakeholders and recognise the need for AFBI to be fully involved, and AFBI will therefore be invited to be represented on the Departmental TB Board programme and also be engaged by the Department on relevant proposals. The response states that AFBI are also frequently attend quarterly meetings of the TB Stakeholder Working Group and provide advice to the Department through the Commission on a range of TB research projects. Members, okay to note? Yep. I refer you to the Correspondence and Consultation report from the Department at pages 55 to 72 regarding the publication of fees and charges for NI registered aeroplane operators in the Carbon Offsetting and Reduction Scheme for International Aviation. At our meeting on the 9th of September, we considered the note of the Correspondence Advisory Committee of a tactical consultation concerning Corsica fees and charges. The Department states that no responses to stakeholders to the consultation were received. However, NIA has confirmed that 9.5% uplift should be applied to NIA fees and charges for 24 and 25. The final proposed fees and charges now to be implemented, including the 9.5% increase, are listed in the correspondence, including a charge of $154 per hour as payable in relation to time spent by the NIEA in estimating emissions. A copy of the charging scheme is included in Appendix A. Have you any comments or have a note? Okay. Refer to page 67 of the table of papers for response to the Department dated 18th of February in relation to aquaculture NI. Following the briefing from Aquaculture NI on the 6th of February, we asked the Department to outline the current restrictions as put on aquaculture movements to prevent the spread of zebra mussels and why the same restrictions are not being applied to all vessel movements. The Department states that it has a legal obligation to consider all potential pathways in relation to the spread of invasive alien species and that movements of live aquaculture animals are transported by road and released at their destination. The restrictions are therefore placed on the movement as opposed to the vessel. Members, the Department states the work to reduce the risk of introduction and spread of IAS by vessel movements has focused on awareness, education and provision of advice and resources and best practice for biosecurity. This includes promotion of the Check, Clean and Dry campaign, which has been the focus of ongoing promotion by NIA and DERA Marine and Fisheries Division. NIA and DERA officials attend the UK Marine Task Force Group, which is responsible for producing a report on preventing the introduction and establishment of marine IAS. This report will contain recommendations to be implemented across the UK. It will be presented to the UK Non-Native Species Programme Board on April 25 and if approved will seek legislative means to support its implementation. Members, any comments or content to note? John?
Quick comment, Chair, if I may. I would be keen that we do more on water quality in the times ahead and have a look at where the problems lie. We've had it pointed out to us in terms of movement of fish and work required by the aquaculture sector, and I've kept it until this section of the agenda. There are other users, such as recreational users, boats being moved from one place to another, jet skis and a number of other things. So I'm keen that as we move forward and as we get any update from the department in relation to any of the programmes mentioned, that we build in the aquaculture sector to our considerations. Yes. And also water use more generally. We bear in mind there are other users recreationally, for example, and others beyond that who may not come to our attention that often, but we keep looking at that whole piece, if that's okay.
Thank you, John. Members okay with John's suggestion? Okay. Okay, members. Item 5 then is a briefing from the mushroom producer organisation, Commercial Mushroom Growers UK and Northway Mushrooms. Pages 11 to 22 of the table of papers for the briefing paper from the mushroom producer organisation, Commercial Mushroom Growers and Northway Mushrooms. Refer to pages 74 to 93 of the pack for the Agriculture Bill, and there's an explanatory and financial memorandum. And I'd like to welcome representatives to brief the committee. We have Liz Kelly from the Mushroom Producer Organisation, Andrew Mulligan from the Commercial Mushroom Growers UK Limited, and Mr David Dallas from Northway Mushrooms. You're very, very welcome here to the committee, and just to give us the opportunity maybe to brief the committee.
Chairperson, committee members, thank you for the opportunity to address you today on behalf of Northern Ireland's mushroom growers. The Northern Ireland horticultural sector has been underfunded and is at risk unless urgent interventions are delivered. This document is to outline to the committee why the agricultural bill should be suspended immediately and the current fruit and veg aid schemes extended until a suitable ring fence replacement grant scheme can be identified for the sector. First of all, I have an overview of the mushroom sector in Northern Ireland. It is 42 million in farm gate sales per annum, representing circa 40% of all horticultural output. It's 19,300 tonnes of fresh mushrooms placed in the UK market per annum. 92% of all mushroom producers in Northern Ireland are part of a PO structure. Total mushroom sector estimated is to be worth about 64 million per annum. It is a significant employer with over 100,000 employed within the industry, and this sector provides 10% of all mushrooms and 40% of organic mushrooms across the UK. The current fruit and veg aid scheme provides match funding for investments in facilities, employment of specialised staff, professionalisation of production planning, growing, marketing operations and research and innovation projects. Via the scheme structures, growers can direct investments where they have the greatest impact. They also further demonstrate the value of co-funded investments by contributing half of the project costs themselves, with the other half coming from match funding via the government. Funding is managed by the Rural Payments Authority. The Northern Ireland annual funding budget is approximately 1.6 million and gives growers an uncapped 3 to 5 year security of funding. The Fruit and Veg Aid scheme offers a range of benefits to the taxpayer. It's profitable farming that furnishes economic growth, value for money and increased employment in rural communities. Food security by reducing reliance on imported produce, increasing availability of produce, price competitiveness and a boost to the horticultural infrastructure. Fast development in agri-tech and innovation in the sector, facilitating high capital investments, and it's also nature-friendly farming that is adapting to climate change. Our competitors. The EU in 2024 revamped the Fruit and Veg Aid scheme rules to make it more attractive than the current scheme operated in the UK. EU POs now have access to 7-year operational programmes which guarantees funding for 7 years, a minimum of 4.1% of VMP guaranteed, which is your revenue, which can rise to 5% for transnational producer organisations and can rise a further 0.5% if targets are obtained, environmental R&D measures, for example. It has 50% grant funding, 80% grant funding for environmental R&D actions. In Ireland, Tegas are actively promoting the Fruit and Veg Aid scheme. The Scottish Government announced last week that they are continuing with the Fruit and Veg Aid scheme for a further 3 years, and new programmes are to be submitted before the 15th of September 2025. They have this week written to the POs advising of the value of the scheme, and they will be conducting a consultation this year on how it can be improved. Northern Ireland's progression on the replacement of the Fruit and Veg Aid scheme. The Northern Ireland Agricultural Policy outlined the objective to double horticulture from 100 million to 200 million to cover over the next 5 to 7 years. This policy outlined the next steps were to develop a suitable support programme through pilot programmes. This was to be done by focusing on group cooperative structures, focusing on the production of crops with good economic potential and work in consultation with relevant subsectors of the industry. The Fruit and Veg Aid scheme is exactly what DAERA are looking for to meet the above objectives, a collaborative approach to increase growth in the sector and improve synergies. Instead of funding and supporting the Fruit and Veg Aid scheme, the horticultural sector have been directed towards 3 new schemes: Sustainable Sector Growth Groups, Innovation Driver and Support, and New Growers Academy, which are currently in development. Initial briefing on these 3 schemes suggests that they are of limited value to the mushroom sector, and it has to be said were developed with no consultation with the mushroom sector. Also, we would query how effective they will be on delivering the wider sector objectives and on the cost effectiveness of the schemes. Therefore, no suitable replacement to the Fruit and Veg Aid scheme has currently been identified, particularly for the mushroom sector. Additionally, indications are that if this bill is passed, that existing funds could be moved from horticulture and given to other sectors or diluted within the horticultural sector itself. Consequences of enacting the agricultural bill without ring-fenced suitable Fruit and Veg Aid scheme. With reference to Clause 1 of the Agricultural Bill, the removal of the requirement for all eligible claims to be funded leaves growers no future security in this industry. The term's discretionary gives no confidence to the industry. It does not allow future planning and leaves Northern Ireland at a significant disadvantage in comparison to our competitors. Without guaranteed ring-fenced funding at the same level, the Department won't deliver for the objectives of the NI future agricultural policy, and due to the level of funding that our competitors will receive, the whole of Northern Ireland horticulture sector could become uncompetitive and will diminish. There are direct costs for the delay, staffing issues within our organisations, postponement of some planned expansion investments, industry confidence at an all-time low, with growers considering closing their businesses due to increased uncertainty. And there's other issues, lack of clarity where funding will come from if Northern Ireland growers remain in England registered POs. There's added stress to our growers due to no guaranteed future funding after the 31st of December 2025. There's increased business pressures due to competitors having long-term grant funding strategies. There's issues with food security, and there's issues with the carbon footprint, i.e. from food farm to fork. Our recommendations: the 3 POs currently operate within the existing scheme and believe it is fantastic for Northern Ireland horticulture. particularly the mushroom sector. It delivers value for money and reduces the overall administration burden on government departments. At this point in time, it is too late to replace the current fruit and veg aid scheme before the 1st of January 2026. We recommend that DAERA pause this bill and prioritise the continuation of the existing scheme for a further 3 years, similar to what Scotland have recently announced. This 3-year period will allow for a review of the scheme to be completed and, if needed, developed with industry consultation. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, Liz. I suppose your main fear, I'm right in saying, is the fact that this issue of discretionary in the bill, in the agriculture bill, and your fear that any support could be discontinued, beyond this mandate, or is that?
That's a large part of it, yes. This is obviously an EU scheme, and it came into retained law in the UK, and then seemed to become a devolved matter then after that. So yes, that is a concern for us that this becomes discretionary. The announcement was made to close the scheme in England in 23. So I suppose the frustration there side is we're now in February 25, and there's no details of any potential replacement for that scheme. And yet there's a bill going through, as we know at the moment, and they're looking to make that funding potentially discretionary. So that offers no security to the mushroom sector or horticulture sector in Northern Ireland, and all this at a time when the EU have developed their scheme and have moved forward. We feel we're in a difficult situation.
And Andrew, Liz said in her presentation that the new scheme wasn't co-designed with the sector. What level of engagement have you been having with the department? Have you brought these directly to the department?
On the 3 new schemes that we're being directed to?
With your concerns and your proposals, what sort of engagement have you been having with the department? What messaging are you getting back from them?
I suppose the main message is that they're reviewing the fruit and vegetable scheme as it is now, and the message we're getting is that review is ongoing. However, they need to bring a bill through to give them better control of their own destiny, if you want to call it that. But that's where we are now. So again, we're now in February. While everybody is planning ahead, submitting their programmes for the next 5-7 years, we're sitting in February and we have no idea if we're going to have a scheme.
Just to add to that, we have been advised by the Minister and DAERA to look towards these schemes. These schemes will have something for the mushroom sector. We haven't had proper consultation with CAFRA, but we've had one meeting and a phone call with CAFRA, and they are saying that there's realistically nothing in this for the mushroom sector. David, you know more about the 3 schemes that are currently out?
Well, we had no consultation regards these schemes, basically, with regards. It's our understanding that these schemes are promoted by CAFRA and really as part of their knowledge transfer, learn and develop service, which is fine, but we feel that, or believe that this is in no way a replacement for the F&V funding scheme, that this is a CAFRA orientated scheme regards knowledge transfer and their services.
The 3 new schemes, this almost has echoes of a debate we had in the Chamber on Tuesday about the Farm for Generations scheme, whereby the department is proposing to end one scheme before we see the shape of a new scheme. So what do you know about what scheme is going to, the 3 new schemes that are going to, but what do you know? I know you said in your correspondence, Liz, that you felt there was limited value and wasn't. What do you know about the 3 new schemes?
Meetings we have, you're talking, and it's not to put down the schemes, but they're small scale, for example, like mentoring schemes and perhaps some small scale funding for business startups, diversification, but they are not aimed at commercial level production support that the F&V scheme is. So, as I say, it's not to put down those schemes. They have their place, and no doubt for the objectives they had, they'll deliver on it, but they are not a replacement for a commercial level support mechanism. We believe they're on a different objective regards that way.
Thank you. Sorry.
There doesn't appear to be anything in it for capital items or for staffing, which is two of the main things that we would have in our fruit and veg aid scheme.
But it does go back to your point, Declan, as you said there, we're getting rid of a scheme, but we've no replacement. We don't know where we're going. So it's very frustrating for us sitting here where we literally do not know what's ahead of us. We could fall off a cliff come the end of this year, and we will not be able to compete. The mushroom sector in Northern Ireland, have to be very clear, highly likely will disappear.
Thank you. I'm just going to move around the room. Michelle, you indicate first.
Thank you, and I suppose really your questions have covered many of mine anyway. I am concerned to hear that there hasn't been consultation with yourself with regards to the development of it, because I know the Minister prides himself on co-design, and certainly would talk about that around various policies and programmes within the department. So disappointed to hear that. Did I pick up that you have met with him, or is it within correspondence around this?
We have met with him to voice our concerns about exactly what we've spoke about today.
And during those conversations, did you get any sense that you may be brought in to maybe assist if these schemes, the new schemes, are in development? Obviously, there should still be an opportunity to be able to amend or adjust to meet the needs of the industry. Did you get any sense of that from your meeting with the Minister?
No.
No, nothing specific.
Nothing specific to that.
Okay, and you talked about Scotland. Was Scotland going down the same direction and then pull back, or?
I believe they were doing a review, similar as DARE are doing here in Northern Ireland, and they have made their decision. Obviously, they value the scheme, and they have made their decision to continue it for another 3-year period, where they're going to do another further consultation on it to try and improve it.
Okay, and so were they in the early development stages of a scheme and then pulled back from it? Or no, they hadn't actually gone as far as our department has?
Not that they were aware of.
Okay, and you talked then about sort of this cliff edge and not being competitive. What does that mean in sort of real terms from a business perspective?
The one thing with regards horticulture, it is very competitive, and it is different from the land-based schemes with regards that aspect, in that for beef and dairy they're in a way constrained by area. So regards competition between the north of Ireland, the south of Ireland or Scotland, there's a bit of a balance there, although competition does exist. Regards horticulture and the supply chain of horticulture, margins are very small, and a slight difference regards the retailers can completely shift this balance to your competitor, and competitors can ramp up. There's basically no constraint on horticultural production, for example, in protected edibles and mushrooms, with regards except for the amount of investment you put into that. So if with lack of investment in Northern Ireland, if we see a shift in competitiveness to the south of Ireland or to Scotland or to Poland for that matter, very quickly the whole supply chain balance can shift. And regards to the multiple retailers, that whole supply will just move to that source, because they can very easily increase their production base very quickly. And so with regards to Northern Ireland, with regards to the mushroom sector, for a very small imbalance in competitiveness and production cost of production base, plus the potential with the new schemes in Ireland and Scotland to now ongoing investment, for example, in new facilities and new technologies, we will very quickly see Northern Ireland mushroom sector becoming uncompetitive, and the sales will just move away, and the sector could very quickly diminish. And once that sales go, you'll not get it back again. It'll be gone. And that's why we would say with regards to horticulture, it's a very more dynamic, more competitive sector that we work in, and that's why it's very important that we maintain that level of competitiveness, because if we don't, we will very quickly see our customers move away.
So we are in essence are competing with ROI, we're competing with Poland for the same market. They have a scheme that we have a scheme that potentially could end at the end of the year. So there's a lot of nervousness within the industry in Northern Ireland, whereas in Southern Ireland and Poland, they're part of a scheme that's been revamped. You know, there's good incentives there for environmental sustainability, all those type of actions for those. So we're trying to compete with that. Another thing is that in terms of the mushroom industry is moving into a automated phase. So in the next probably 2 years, we're going to see a lot of automation within the industry. None of that automation has been trialled in Northern Ireland. It's all been done in Norway and in Poland and in other areas. So that in itself gives you an indication of you know, where things are going. You know, they will be ahead of us very shortly. They are ahead of us now, but they will continue to, you know, dig in on us if we don't at least match what they're doing.
Thank you. I suppose, Deputy Chairman, what concerns me about the presentation this morning is normally as a committee, whenever we're hearing from witnesses, we may look then as a committee to amend legislation and to tweak legislation, but essentially what's been suggested here today is that the department actually withdraw this bill in its entirety, so that's quite concerning.
So listen, we accept the point that the department need to control their own destiny, so we do understand the bill. I suppose what we're asking for is that we pause, you know, until we have details of what a new scheme is for the mushroom sector and have some details around that. If it's potentially going to be extended or what's going to happen, yes, then we can accept the bill coming through. But to push the bill through now when we don't know what's happening, you know, it's just not going to work for us.
Thank you.
We'll move around the room, Pasha.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Pretty much in black and white there. It's pretty we left the EU, isn't it? But could I come to the points here? You mentioned the horticultural sectors. What way have you liaised with other sectors in that horticultural, if you like, collegiate, to find out how in fact they see advantages or disadvantages within what's being proposed here? Have you spoken to them about that or not?
So in Northern Ireland, the mushroom sector has the biggest uptake in the fruit and vegetable scheme. Some of the other sectors haven't taken up the scheme for various reasons.
Right.
In the UK, there's been a better uptake of it from the other sectors.
Can you give us any? I'm not asking you to speak for them, obviously, but can you give us any insights as to why they didn't take up the scheme?
We did quite a bit of work working with strawberry and mushroom growers, and as was identified in the strategy review 2022-23, the horticulture sector in Northern Ireland, possibly with the exception of some field veg and mushrooms, it's very small and fragmented, and that they do need to work together for the good supply chain. So regards, and this is where producer organisations come into the fore with regards integration and cooperation within the sectors to develop sales. What we feel is that, you know, the producer organisation, producer group way forward, there's a lot more to be done to develop Northern Ireland horticulture, and that was recognised in the sector. Unfortunately, since that report came out, there's been really, you know, that is still to be done. You know, with regards to that report, and at that time there was quite a good view in producer organisations and producer groups to develop that. But really, since that, and this is where we're worried as well with the possible removal of the F&V support scheme, which is linked to producer groups, nothing's been done to develop it. That objective has just been stalled. You know, as far as we can see, nothing more has been done with regards that objectives. And I think, regards your question, regards other sectors such as the soft fruit industry, it's there to be done. I think Northern Ireland only supplies internally probably about 5% of its own soft fruit. For our own PO, we had started that work with regards speaking to other growers. It's got so far, but now it's kind of in disarray because we think the scheme, you know, for the last 2 years we haven't really even known if the scheme's going to be continued.
I think one of the sorry, John.
Thank you for that. But what I was going to, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but what I was looking to know was, is there sort of like a collegiate group or an umbrella group of horticultural producer organisations that kind of even informally works together or communicates together around what these proposals might be? Maybe there's not.
No, not really.
Not Northern Ireland. In the UK wide there is. So we're part of a wider sector group in the UK. But one of the problems that Northern Ireland has faced in terms of the fruit and veg scheme is that it was an EU, obviously, legacy scheme, and now it's a DEFRA scheme, if you want to call it that, and it's administered by the RPA. So there's nobody on the ground in Northern Ireland pushing the scheme, promoting the scheme, or talking to these people about the scheme. And we have some fault in that, is because we have benefited from the scheme, but we haven't been out there promoting it as well, and that's one of the major failings. If you take Chagas in Norway, they're actively promoting the scheme. I don't know if we sent on the recent link for the video of how much they're actually promoting the scheme in Ireland, and if you look at that, we don't have that up here, so that's a major fail in the system.
What I'm trying to tease out is there's mention here of and with your forbearance, Chair, of 3 new schemes. So at this point in time, you certainly are a bit reluctant, a bit unsure about the viability and how in effect these schemes might work, if they'll work at all for your sector. And there was one just other wee bit of clarification that you said, Liz, about staffing requirements or support for staffing. If you can maybe expand a wee bit on that for me too, please. But I'm anxious to tease out, because we've been asked to move into and support a scheme. You're clearly saying you're at the very least unsure about what that scheme might render, and maybe at maximum saying this scheme isn't going to be effective for us at all, if that's what I'm hearing from you, right? And Chair, it might be helpful if we heard from others in the horticultural sector how that might, or how they perceive these schemes might work or might not work for them, just to get a clearer picture on that too. But sorry, just the staffing issue then.
The staffing issue itself is within our POs, so we're losing staff. The RPA are losing staff. So realistically, because we do not know what's happening at the end of December, it's realistically people's mindset where we don't have a permanent job, so we're just moving on whenever we can get an opportunity. And we're finding it quite hard to fill those positions again. And even within the RPA, the audits on in-year claims have been delayed due to that. So realistically, it's an ongoing impact. Within staffing, within our POs, my PO, we have 6 harvest managers. We had 6 QA managers. We're now down to 5 QA managers. We haven't been able to fill that 1 QA manager position. So realistically, the scheme itself does allow for a high level of qualification staff to come in and assist the growers. The growers love the assistance, because last year we actually had training from Chagas for all of our QAs and harvest managers, and they went out into the growers and were able to expand the learning that they had and pass it on to other workers within those farms. So there's that element of it. There was something else you touched on earlier about other sectors. Andrew and I both are in the PO steering group, which includes the UK POs, and we have spoken to other sectors as well. They've actually assisted DERA on a video call explaining how the fruit and veg aid scheme has worked for berries, top fruit and salads, soft fruit and salads and everything. So we have been working with them, and it works over there. I believe the main element that could have developed it further in Northern Ireland is publication of it. I think because it was an EU scheme, it was left with EU. When we came away from EU, there was no promotion of the scheme. So realistically speaking, if there had been more promotion of the scheme within Northern Ireland, there potentially could have been more POs. As you can see, the mushroom sector, majority of the mushroom growers are in the PO because we see the value of it.
Okay, thank you.
Just all the different schemes, I suppose, to clarify that we're not denigrating the calf-free schemes, but to kind of maybe compare it to the new sustainable agriculture programme, what we're saying it's there's knowledge transfer programmes in it which will be of value, but what we're saying is a bit like providing those and removing the basic payment scheme.
Yes.
They're slightly different in their objectives, and what we are seeing in the horticulture sector is that we have got our commercial support funding, which was the F&V scheme, is now being potentially removed, and what's left is these knowledge transfer type schemes, which we feel are not a similar replacement for what might not be there.
You need stability of your business.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Anya?
Thank you, Chair. I went into this with 1 or 2 questions, and I have about 6 scattered over a few pages here. So just to keep with the theme of the new schemes, essentially the 3 new schemes, have they been sold to yourselves as a direct replacement at any stage? And at what stage did you become aware that there was new schemes being developed?
We had a meeting with Kieran Lavelle and that was really when he first moved it, and this was quite informal that there were new schemes being developed. Now, to be clear, at that meeting, he himself agreed that there was nothing. This was not a replacement for the commercial support scheme. I don't think we've really had any involvement with the development of the schemes. Now, there might be other aspects of horticulture have had. We're not aware. But certainly within the mushroom sector, which is the biggest sector, we have had no involvement with CAFRE in regards to the development of those schemes.
I think we have to be clear is that the final details of the schemes have not been released yet. There's some information deals coming up actually very shortly on those, but we're basing it on our initial conversations with CAFRE and we have been directed towards those schemes.
I also sent an email out to Kieran Lavelle asking if we could meet to discuss these schemes to try and make sure they were suited for the mushroom sector, and the feedback I got was that they wouldn't be in a position to discuss this with us until the schemes were finished and finalised.
So I suppose you're left in a situation where they're willing to engage and consult after the fact.
On one point, sorry, I just want to be clear as well, there's no base payment for the mushroom sector. You know, we don't get any land-based payment, there's no safety net, nothing like that at all, so that's another important point.
Thank you. Andrew, and in relation to the engagements or lack of engagement that you have had with CAFRE to date, have they ever indicated at any stage as to how far they are with the development of these schemes?
Well, they're obviously very close with them because their information on them is due to be released. I think some of the briefings or initial briefings are starting next week so they're obviously very close.
And again, just one more point in relation to the schemes, and I'm not going to dwell on them anymore after this. And I suppose it's more of a question out of curiosity, but how long has it been from the start of the development of these schemes to now? Has this been taking place over 6 months, 12 months? And look, I know you aren't CAFRE or the department, but have you got any insight into that?
It's difficult for us to answer, I suppose, 12 months, 18 months. To be honest, we couldn't give any decent answer to that, but we are aware of them at least 12 months now.
Thank you. Andrew, I know you mentioned and touched on automation earlier on, and I suppose the disadvantage that you are at, and I suppose lagging behind. You mentioned the south, you mentioned Poland. I suppose specifically speaking with the south and Poland, what type of automation developments are they researching at the minute? Have they implemented anything at the minute to your knowledge?
There's trials ongoing for the automated harvesting of mushrooms. So it's a massive step forward for the mushroom sector because it's all done by hand at the moment. And there's not just one, there's 2 or 3 different
there's actually
out there.
One solution that's being developed engineering wise in Northern Ireland at Guildford, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's being the actual trial is actually being carried forward in the south of Ireland because I don't think any of our growers would just be wanting to commit to that type of expense without any assurance.
Without a clear plan, they want to do it, they want to invest, they want to embrace automation, but it's quite expensive. It's going to take a lot of match funding, and I think for everybody in the room, this is not a subsidy scheme. This is a match funding scheme. I'm repeating myself probably in this, but it's not a subsidy. So whatever you're getting, you're matching. So it's very well designed in that regard. So they're willing to do that, but until they have some security of a future, it's difficult to do it.
And look, I totally respect that point. Andrew, just a final one in relation to the call on the Minister. Have yourselves, and I know you've had some engagement with him in regards to this, but in any engagement you have had, have you made the direct call to him to either pause or scrap this bill in its totality?
No, to be honest, we've discussed the bill. We had the belief that Dear were trying to extend the fruit and veg aid scheme. We sat down 2 weeks ago and read the research paper on the bill, and we were quite shocked. Realistically speaking, the 3 POs, we've very, very busy days, just like yourselves, so trying to get time squeezed in to deal with other ends of things like a bill is not something that's on our day-to-day list. We have been realistically focusing our resources on trying to extend the scheme within both England and here, and that's where realistically we were pushing until we had to reply to the
there was a consultation on the document. So,
and it was that point in time we realised how dramatic this could be for our mushroom industry, specifically in Northern Ireland.
And we did raise concerns around the term discretionary because we are concerned by that term, as we should be.
Which we mentioned at the last
meeting
on it
as well.
And we were aware that there may be a need for, I suppose what we had thought would, in parallel, we would now be discussing or have had discussed what would be the suitable replacement, commercial replacement to this, the F&V scheme. But it just appears that the only thing that is happening is that this bill is coming through, which gives the power to stop any support. And apart from the CAFRE proposals regards their programmes,
no commercial support.
We have no assurance or even indication that there's anything coming down the pipeline to us.
But we have constantly been told no decision has been made to end the fruit and vegetable scheme in Northern Ireland, but no decision has been made to extend it either.
Okay, Anya. Right, John?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks all of you. So some of the points I'm going to raise have been answered already, of course, but there are, I hope you'll understand, I'll say a couple of areas of uncertainty for me that perhaps you could clarify. I, at the outset, need to make clear I think the committee can help in trying to clarify this consultation piece and get some, clear steer from the department and where that is and what's happening. But on that point, I suppose if I could ask you, you're saying there was no consultation, but I'm also hearing there were meetings with the Minister and meetings with the department, and you've just said you discussed the bill. So what's the gap between no consultation and the meetings and the discussions on the bill with the Minister?
The gap
I'm
is
not clear on that.
the gap is in relation to the scheme itself. Right, you have the bill, but the detail of the scheme. So we're aware of the bill, yes, we're aware of that and the process going through. But the problem we have is we don't know if the scheme is going to be extended, if it's going to be replaced, what's it going to be replaced by. We're pointed to 3 other separate schemes. We're not sure if any of those will fit in for us or not. We're told it won't. So it's that level of uncertainty. And we've never had an opportunity to discuss a replacement scheme. But again, it's difficult to discuss a replacement scheme when no decision has been made to scrap the existing scheme. So it's really the uncertainty.
I'm not being deliberately forensic here. I'm trying to get the thing clear in my own mind. And also then on the variation within the scheme or the discretionary aspect of any forthcoming scheme. Can I ask your thoughts on this? Because I've mentioned this here before, and I think it's important to do it while you're here. Do you accept that there might need to be some discretionary measures within the sector based on weather patterns that might affect one area of the sector more than another? It could be one producer 1 year impacted more than another, whether that's the nature of their work or their geographic location, and that in the following year that might not. It might be another part of the sector needing more support than had it last year. So do you see that the need for discretionary in terms of changing weather patterns, changing market trends, and that there might need to be that flexibility there for the benefit of all of you in the sector?
Again, we've no problem with and that's a good point, and certainly regards to the bill, yes, those are all good reasons for that term, but it also could mean that you're not getting anything. And as Andrew said, this is the problem. It's very open-ended, and there's no clarity being given to the horticulture sector as regards what's happening. We don't want to get hung up on the wording of the bill, because there might be, as you have highlighted, valid reasons for the bill and parts of it. But looking at it in a whole, regards where our issue is that we've got the bill but we've got no visibility or indication of what actually it's referring to.
Okay, and then finally, and again, it's for clarification, I fully understand your interest in the schemes elsewhere, for example, in the Republic of Ireland, for sustainability support, automation, and I'm sure a host of other things that there's support there for. But if we're going to compare with that and aspire to do the same, is there not a contradiction then in seeking to delay a new bill for a number of years? Because if you're delaying that for a period of years, which is what's quoted in your presentation, then you are surely stopping any chance of those things coming forward as part of the new arrangements. Is that not the case?
What we would be suggesting is that the scheme continues on and is extended for another 3 years. Sorry, it doesn't need to be extended in Northern Ireland because there's no plan to stop it. So it continues on for another 3-year period. Okay, and then in that 3-year period we are allowed to review and improve it where we can.
But are you not also saying that in the existing scheme there isn't the support for the automation and
no, we're not
sectoral support?
Sorry if I made that. That's definitely not the case. The new scheme that they have, there's better rates of funding, if you want to call it that, for those types of automation, sustainability, environmental type actions. No, in the existing scheme that is already there, just slightly better funding rates. So what we do want is to continue on with the scheme, work with DARE to try and improve the scheme where we can. Certain areas, maybe make it more Northern Ireland specific, was what we mean by that.
Okay.
I think our biggest fear is that this scheme, or this bill, will basically stop fruit and veg aid scheme in Northern Ireland, and then the money will just disappear for the horticultural sector, and we will remain uncompetitive. And realistically, over the next 10 years, every door of the mushroom growers will close, and you'll lose 40% of your horticulture, because we've already had conversations with our growers. One of my growers is actually talking about closing their doors. That's 100,000 tonnes of mushrooms gone, and that's just based on all of the other issues. I'm trying to get them to remain open. Other growers are saying if we do not get fruit and veg aid funding, we'll work with what we have, but we'll not be able to compete once automation comes in, and then we'll have to close because it'll just cost too much and we'll end up losing money.
Thank you.
Okay, William?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. I think it's recognised that there is huge opportunities for the horticulture sector, but it needs support. Is the current fruit and vegetable aid scheme really fit for purpose? Does it not need to be upgraded with consultation with yourselves?
Or I can only speak for the HAP of the mushroom sector. It's a very good scheme for the mushroom sector, and as you can see by the uptake in it, there's 92% of growers in Northern Ireland in it, so it's a good scheme, but absolutely it can be improved upon, without a doubt.
You're saying there hasn't been enough consultation with yourselves up to date. It's important that the department does work with you to look at the ways forward for any future scheme.
Absolutely. The slight issue with that question is that there has been no decision made to end the scheme. So I suppose it's difficult to have consultation on a new scheme, if there's going to be a separate scheme identified outside of the 3 that we're being pointed to. So yes, there needs to be consultation with industry and developing a new scheme if that's the way it's going to go. But at the minute, as I say, we have a scheme. It's currently under review. We don't know if that scheme is going to end or not. We're being directed towards 3 other schemes that we don't believe apply for us. So that's just the whole uncertainty around that is the problem. So what we would like is to have the extension, keep the scheme going, and work with us to try and develop the scheme better for Northern Ireland, try and promote the scheme better in Northern Ireland, that all of horticulture is in it.
William and Tom?
Yeah, and the question has already been answered anyway, but a lot of things has been, we've heard a lot of things today, and even in relation to this bill, but I'm going to ask the question again anyway, just to put it on record, and the fact is, this bill as it stands, mushroom sector feel they can't support it, because of the concerns that there is within it, as it stands. What are the fundamental one or two issues that would need to be included in the bill to allow the mushroom sector to accept it?
I'll take it over.
I think going back to our meetings before with the Minister now, when the bill and the need for the bill to discuss, at that stage we were under the understanding that there was a new support mechanism coming in, and we understood the need for the bill if we wanted to adapt the scheme to Northern Ireland, make improvements and make changes. We had there was no issue with their bill coming in. It was explained to us that that was why the bill was needed, which is fine. Our issue is that since those initial meetings, all that's happened is that the bill has progressed, but there has been no consultation or further action on a replacement scheme, which we thought us and the whole of horticulture would be involved in to develop this new scheme. And as Andrew said, we're still more than willing to do that. All that has happened is that we have been announced that these 3 new pilot schemes have come place, which were developed without, as far as we're, consultation with the sector, and that we feel are more CAF-free, learn and develop oriented, which again we've no problem with, and they certainly will have a benefit, but they are not the replacement for the commercial support scheme that we were led to believe this bill was being brought in to allow development of.
I think, Tom, just to answer your question, is number one, the term discretionary would need to be removed from it. And the second thing we would want is that the funding is ring-fenced for the sector, and we continue with the fruit and veg scheme until a suitable replacement is designed and with industry.
And that it allows us to remain competitive as well.
Yeah. So what you're more or less saying that the mushroom sector feel that they have been left behind on this particular bill that's going forward?
We were led to believe, that this would be happening in tandem. Yeah. This is the problem. This was happening in tandem with the new support scheme coming in, and that's what we feel hasn't happened. That replacement scheme that this was to be happening along with, there is no indication of there's going to be any such scheme coming down the line to us. And I suppose what has happened since that, we're now kind of moving towards the conclusion: is this bill being brought forward just for the cessation of the existing F&V scheme, rather than what we had kind of believed that it was being brought in to allow the development of a suitable replacement scheme?
Sure. Right. Okay. Certainly, there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear and anxiety within the sector, and I think as a committee, I think it's our responsibility to listen to you and bring those concerns to the department. And as John said a minute ago, to help you get a bit of clarity and a clear steer from the department. So, is that we make representation to the department, highlighting the concerns and looking for more, as John said, clear steer and clarity from the department on the way forward. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out this afternoon now, taking your morning out to come up here and to brief the committee. And listen, we'll do our best to try and get some answers for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Take care. Thank you. Okay, members. Item 6, members, is the Agriculture Bill, pages 95 to 98 of the papers, for correspondence in relation to the call for evidence for the Agriculture Bill. Members, the Northern Ireland Food and Drink Association have declined to provide evidence due to time pressures, as they are currently organising their conference. They have extended an invitation to members to attend their conference at the Crown Plaza on the 4th of March. Also refer to the response from the NI soft fruit growers. They have stated that they are unable to compile a response due to work commitments from the effects of recent storms. However, they also state that some of their members have experience of a producer organisation and were not keen to re-enter the experience again. The citizen-based survey on the bill is now closed and has received 6 responses. 3 of those are from the mushroom sector organisations that have briefed us today. And you can tend to note in the meantime, and the committee team will ensure the committee have sight of the responses and summary of issues raised for commencement of deliberations. Okay. Item number 7, Conservation Natural Habitats Amendment Regulations NI 2025. Page 100 to 103 of the pack for the papers for this item. The Conservation and Natural Habitats Amendment Regulations NI 25. Members, the Department intends to make an SR subject to negative resolution under the powers conferred to it by Section 14 of retained EU Law Revocation and Reform Act 2023 to amend the Conservation Natural Habitats and Regulations NI 19.5. The proposed SR is to make technical changes to align the designation of marine special protection areas and the special areas of conservation to the same procedure as designated marine conservation zones. In the meantime, in the Marine Act 2013, and DEAR responsibility for the management and monitoring of European marine sites in the NI region. I welcome the following officials to brief the committee on the proposed changes, and then there'll be questions from the committee. We have Mr. Colin Armstrong, the Director of Marine and Fisheries Division, and Mark Preston, Head of Natural Heritage 2 branch Natural Environment Policy Division. So just invite you maybe to brief the committee, and members may have questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity to come and provide an update to you. So, just of all, by way of introduction, Colin Armstrong, the Deputy Director of Marine and Fisheries Division, and Mark Preston, Natural Environment Policy Division. We very much work together on this nature conservation work area here. So, first of all, outline the regulations. So, what we're proposing is an amendment to the Conservation Natural Habitat Regulations of 1995. These regulations transpose what was the Habitats and Birds Directives, which is the legislative framework that was originally put in place to protect the habitats within the EU. Now, following EU exit, operability changes were made to these regulations to set it in the context of operating outside the EU, and made changes such as what the former role of the European Commission would have been in the processes. These laws are now what we refer to as assimilated law, and Mark will outline a little bit more later about what the significance of that is and the processes that we now need to go through for that. Principally, though, the purpose of today and the changes what we're outlining is to clarify the responsibilities of the Secretary of State and the responsibilities of the Department, because what has come to light is a little bit of confusion around those roles when it comes to designation, monitoring, management of special areas of conservation and special protection areas. So just to set a little bit of context for that, the conservation regulations apply to Northern Ireland, which for the purposes of these regulations includes the territorial waters of the United Kingdom that is adjacent to Northern Ireland, which is what we also call the Northern Ireland inshore region. And while nature conservation is a devolved matter, the foreshore, the seabed, the subsoil and their natural resources are reserved, and hence when we seek to do anything in and around that touches on those things, we must get the agreement of the Secretary of State to do so. So in practice, what has happened over the course of since these regulations first came in was it was very clear that DEARA was responsible for identifying special areas of conservation, for identifying special protection areas, undertaking all of the public consultation. We would have come to the committees, the relevant committees at the time, and outlined all of that. And then we would have got the Secretary of State's agreement to go to public consultation and to, again, at the stage of formal consultation. That would have been the process. However, in the latest designation process for special protection area in Carlingford and on the East Coast, an issue has emerged when we went to go to the Secretary of State, where they've just sort of pointed out that actually that process in practice doesn't fully reflect as it's drafted within the existing regulations. So What the case is now, as it points out, is actually the drafting that's in the regulations at the moment is actually quite a blunt explanation. It simply says that for a European site, or when it comes to a European marine site, substitute the department with the Secretary of State. That doesn't really reflect what happens in practice, and therefore, as a result, what we've discussed with DEFRA, who are the officials who are responsible for this, and they have said that we should consider taking forward this amendment just to provide the clarification, and they have agreed in principle that it's not impacting on anything which is an existing Secretary of State responsibility, and that we are able to do so. So this is very much just a clarification issue. More helpfully, the latest legislation relating to this that came into effect would have been the Marine Act of Northern Ireland 2013. So when that Marine Bill was coming through, it very clearly set out a process of designation where the department does the work, goes to consultation, and then goes and gets Secretary of State agreement. So what we're proposing in these amendments is that we simply take that exact same approach and apply that to special areas of conservation and special protection areas. So I'll just let Mark maybe outline a little bit more about the process and retained EU law, etc.
Yeah, thanks, Colin, and good afternoon, Chair and committee members. So the 1995 regulations were originally made under Section 2.2 of the ECA Act 1972. This legislation has been revoked on EU exit, and the proposed amendments being taken forward will be under the Section 14 of the Retained EU Law Revocation and Reform Act 2023. The amending regulations will be subject to negative resolution. Whilst the current focus has been on marine SPA designation, a review of the regulations has been undertaken. We have identified a minor drafting error during EU exit fixes, which has removed the role of the SOS in regard to marine SACs. So again, that's another thing that will need to be fixed during this process, and it will align then the SPA designation to the SAC plus to marine conservation zones. The review of the regulations has also identified other minor amendments required to clarify that DAERA is responsible for the management and monitoring of European marine sites in the NI inshore region, rather than the Secretary of State taking that role. We have conducted equality and rural needs impacts assessments, and as these proposed regulations are technical amendments, no impact has been identified. And once the regulations are drafted and scrutinised, we will have to seek the DEFRA SOS Secretary of State agreement to lay them. So thank you.
Okay, I'll pass it across to John. John, you indicate you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I think I'm clear that this is a technical adjustment, and thank you both for the presentation. I suppose the best way, without being mischievous, to ask this question is, I'm not absolutely sure of the involvement or interest of the various Secretaries of State over the year in our marine environment in Northern Ireland, but I think I could give it a guess. Is there any lessening or strengthening of the role of any of the parties here, whether it's the Secretary of State or the department officials? And I'm probably hoping that I'm going to hear that the department officials have an increased role rather than an unclear role.
This change is not going to change substantially anything that the department is doing so far as it relates to the inshore region. The department has already been responsible for gathering all of the evidence, doing the science, developing all the proposals, and as you've sort of indicated there, DEFRA has had no involvement in that. The practice to date has always been, it is developed here. We come to the likes of the committee, we go to stakeholders, and then once that is finished, the Secretary of State gives agreement. So very much it gets scrutinised and worked through here. And all we're doing is correcting the legislation to clarify that. But there's no actual change in practice.
And that stays the same, except the Secretary of State wasn't mentioned somewhere, but is now. Is that
the Secretary of State will only be mentioned at the very end. Okay. So it'll say the department will, and it's usefully set out in the Marine Act if you want to just look at that for marine conservation zones. The department will take it through all stages of the designation process, and then it'll say something like at the end, the department can only designate with agreement of the Secretary of State. But it's meant that scrutiny can happen here.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
In your briefing there, you did say that the DAERA has responsibility for the management and monitoring of European marine sites, the NI inshore. You'll appreciate then that because we're one epidemiological island, that those inshores will obviously interface with those in the south of Ireland. What are you aligned? What sort of a management plan is there to make sure that the management of our NI inshore is aligned with the wider inshore right around the entire island?
Yeah, so special areas of conservation and special protection areas apply across the EU, and so therefore within Ireland. And we're talking about a proposal here for Carlingford Loch. There are special protection areas that have been designated, for example, on the Carlingford shoreline. So we can designate within parts of Carlingford Loch, and National Parks and Wildlife Service can do the same. So the framework for protection of European habitats and species is the same north and south. And this will make no change to that.
That reflects the epidemiological unit of the... And I know this may well be a question for the legal department, but just in case you may be able to offer, it's intended to make this item subject to negative resolution. Can you explain, how is decided if a rule is laid by negative or affirmative resolution? What decides that, or who decides that?
It's set out in the Reformation Reform Act. Whenever we use Section 14 to do this, that will be subject to negative resolution. Yeah.
And the final point is, in the briefing papers, you said that NIA and DAERA officials met with DEFRA and agreed that Regulation 8A-B does not reflect the devolution arrangement for marine conservation. When did you realise it? When did that meeting take place? When did you realise that was the case?
You've had on and off meetings with them over the last couple of years on this. So I don't have the exact dates of that one with me. Do you have that one? It will have been in the last year, 18 months, I believe. I can come back to you with the exact dates of those meetings. Yeah. We've been engaging on this with DEFRA over the last couple of years, and it's sort of come to light as to what the problem was, and it's resulted in a bit of a delay in being able to classify these sites.
I have no other members who indicate they wish to speak, so Colin and Mark, well, thank you very much for making your way up here this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Members, you agreed that the Department proceeds to make the SR, and will then consider if they consider it on the ESR report formally in due course. Okay, item 8. The SR 2025-26, the Farm Sustainability Payments to Farmers Amendment Regulations NI 25, pages 106 to 111 in the pack for SR 25-26, and the Farm Sustainability Payments to Farmers Amendment Regulations NI and the explanatory memorandum. It was laid on the 13th of February under negative resolution and is anticipated to come into operation on the 6th of March. We received an oral briefing on the SL1 at our meeting last week and heard that the proposed SR is to make a number of minor legislative amendments. The briefing we heard the Department intends to simplify the procedures and rules concerning land eligibility. The committee also recognised the farming industry has welcomed the extension of the entitlement transfer window by 2 weeks and that applications can be accessed online. We also heard the Department plan a rapid review process for those farmers who are challenging the decision that they are inactive and not eligible for the payment. Members last week agreed that the Department proceeds to make the SR. I'll now put the SR to the committee. Committee for Agriculture, Environment and Affairs considered SR 25-26, the Farm Sustainability Payments to Farmers Amendment Regulations NI 2025, and no objection to the rule, subject to the report of the Examiner of Statutory Rules. Members, okay? Okay. Members, there's item 9 is the LCM Employment Rights Bill, Gangmaster and Labour Abuse Authority. This matter refers to the potential extension to NI of provisions of the UK Employment Rights Bill via an LCM, which would abolish the GLAA and its enforcement powers under the Secretary of State for Business and Trade. It's page 112 to 125 of the pack for papers relating to this, including correspondence from the Department providing an update on the bill, which we considered and noted at our meeting on the 19th of November, correspondence from the Department for a further update, which we considered at our meeting on the 23rd of January, and at that meeting we requested an oral briefing, and a paper entitled UK Employment Bills, Clauses with Explanations. The document, which is Annex A, sets out the clauses in the UK Employment Rights Bill which have been cleared in principle by Minister Muir as dealing with devolution matters. I refer to page 24 to 224 of the table of papers for a copy of the Employment Rights Bill and amendments to the Employment Rights Bill. The Minister agreed to an extension of these powers to NI, which will require an LCN to be brought to the Assembly. The Department for Communities is leading on this LCM, and DERA, DOF and DFE are within the scope of the bill. When we first considered the proposal for this LCM, we noted that the Minister was seeking an amendment due to his concern that Part 2 of Schedule 4 of the bill confers a power on the Secretary of State to amend relevant labour market legislation set out in Part 1 of Schedule 4. Mr Muir has indicated that he is content to support the LCM subject to the bill being amended to address this issue, thereby giving assurance that this power will not be exercisable in the absence of an NI Assembly approval. I welcome the following officials from DERA and DFC to brief the committee and answer any questions after the briefing, and I hope they will be able to tell us if the Minister got that amendment. We have Miss Nicola, change the glasses, Nicola Connery from DERA, and we had Richard Jordan from DFC. You're very, very welcome to the committee, and if you want to do the presentation, the members will ask questions thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to attend the committee today. We're pleased to have the opportunity to speak to you about the legislative consent motion for the Employment Rights Bill. I will keep my presentation brief, as committee has been provided with 2 previous written briefings on the bill at your meetings on the 13th of November 2024 and the 23rd of January 2025. The bill was amended on the 27th of January, and while we have determined that there are no amendments within the bill which change the policy intent, the numbering of the clauses has since changed, and you've been provided with a short update to clarify this. Committee is aware that this is a cross-cutting bill, and the legislative consent motion is being led by DFC, and as well as engaging DERA, it also engages DFE and DOF. The Committee for Communities will be considering this next Thursday, the 27th of February, and DERA, DFE and DOF officials have been invited to attend that committee. Turning now to the bill itself, UKG intends that the Employment Rights Bill will improve workplace conditions, extend employee protections, modernise employment laws, enhance existing provisions and introduce new rights across a number of regimes, cutting across a number of government departments. The new UKG committed to introduce this legislation within 100 days of entering office. Because of this and the wide-ranging and cross-cutting nature of the proposed measures in the bill, there was a significant amount of work required to obtain clarity on the aspects of the bill that might fall to NI departments in order to consider the need to extend provisions via an LCM. As a result, an LCM relating to the devolved matters is only now being progressed, led by Minister Lyons. For DERA, the bill will allow for the establishment of a single UK-wide enforcement body to be known as the Fair Work Agency, or FWA, which will bring together existing enforcement functions. To facilitate this, the bill abolishes the Gangmasters and Labour Abuse Authority, or GLAA, and transfers its functions to the FWA and makes certain saving provisions with respect to the Agricultural Wages Regulations Northern Ireland Order 1977. The GLAA is a non-departmental public body which is sponsored by the Home Office and operates UK-wide under the Gangmasters Licensing Act 2004 to tackle worker exploitation, tax evasion and health and safety negligence. In Northern Ireland, its operations are funded through DERA. The GLA currently employs 2 Northern Ireland-based enforcement officers. Locally, the GLAA licenses labour providers, employment agencies and gangmasters who provide workers in the agriculture, horticulture and shellfish gathering sectors, including any associated processing and packaging businesses. As noted, the bill will abolish the GLAA, and in doing so will amend the Gangmasters Licensing Act 2004. It's our understanding that the functions currently carried out in Northern Ireland by the GLAA will not change on the ground. The important work that the GLAA carries out in Northern Ireland will carry on as it does now. UKG sees the abolition of the GLAA and other enforcement bodies, and the bringing together of the respective functions under the FWA as a positive change. The aim is to bring about efficiencies, create a single place where workers and businesses can turn to for help, and pull intelligence resources to help enforcement agencies better protect workers from exploitation. Turning to the saving provisions in the bill, with respect to the Agricultural Wages Regulations, Northern Ireland Order 1977. The Agricultural Wages Board for Northern Ireland is a statutory body which meets 3 times a year to determine the minimum gross wages payable to agricultural workers and to set some conditions for holiday and sick pay entitlement. This saving provision maintains the status quo for the AWB here so that it is not impacted by provisions in the bill which relate to the transfer of enforcement officers to the Secretary of State. The clauses in the bill as amended that are of interest to DARA are Clause 118, which provides for the abolition of the GLAA, and Clause 119, which provides for consequential amendments to ensure that the legislation remains operable, including to the 2004 Act, details of which are set out in Schedule 8. In addition, Clause 124 confers a power on the Secretary of State to make provision that is consequential on any provision made by the bill, a standard clause permitting the making of consequential amendments that may be required to maintain the proper functioning of the statute book. Schedule 9 deals with schemes to permit the transfer of staff, property, rights and liabilities from the GLAA to the Secretary of State. It ensures that in doing so, the rights of staff are protected and the validity of any of the functions being transferred are not affected. Finally, Schedule 9 also contains the saving provisions for the AWB referred to earlier. Now, I want to briefly draw to the committee's attention to one concern that our analysis of the bill has given rise to. This is that Part 2 of Schedule 5 of the bill, which confers a power on the Secretary of State to amend relevant labour market legislation, including some legislation that applies here. Crucially, the bill does not contain any provision to require approval from the NI Executive in the event that the Secretary of State should choose to exercise this function. Minister Muir has raised this with the UKG Minister responsible, Justin Matters, and has indicated that he is content to support this LCM, subject to the bill being amended to address this issue. UKG has agreed to amend the bill to ensure that this power will not be exercisable in the absence of approval from the relevant Northern Ireland Minister. This is not considered a material concern for the LCM going forward at this stage, subject to formal confirmation of the amendment to the bill being provided, when we will update the committee. I'll turn briefly to consultation. A UKG consultation indicated support for better coordinated enforcement action and pooling of intelligence, benefits relating to recognition of a single brand and stronger links with stakeholders. DARA also wrote to key stakeholder groups on the 20th of December 2024 on the proposal to abolish the GLA. The GLAA and the Ulster Farmers Union, or UFU, responded. The GLAA indicated full support for the bill, while UFU raised 2 issues, neither of which are considered a material concern for the LCM. Officials are writing to UFU to clarify and reiterate that there are no anticipated impacts on the ground in respect of the abolition of the GLAA, and that the AWB will continue to operate as it does currently. Finally, with respect to the Minister indicating his agreement to extend the relevant provisions to NI, he is aware of the importance of legislating on devolved matters in the Assembly. However, he has taken the view that it is sensible to extend the provisions here, as doing so avoids the need for a separate enforcement body in Northern Ireland, which would require significant time and resources within DARA and the NI Executive to establish. Furthermore, as already indicated in your written briefing, given that establishing a separate enforcement body in Northern Ireland would take considerable time, not agreeing to the LCM would create a gap in this important enforcement provision in the intervening period. The proposals are not expected to have direct financial implications. Equality assessments for the abolition of the GLAA indicate that there are no significant negative impacts on equality of opportunity, and timing is critical, as an LCM would have to be agreed by the Assembly before the bill reaches the House of Lords, which is expected to be in April 2025. To this end, it would be helpful for us to reflect this committee's position to the Minister and subsequently support the Minister for Communities and the Committee for Communities in meeting the challenging time frame. Thank you for your time. I'll end there and we're happy to take any questions.
John, you want?
No, I have no question.
I suppose you had said there that I just suppose that the GLAA work will continue here. Is that right? Until when?
So the work that the GLAA carries out currently will continue. The timescale for developing the Fair Work Agency is up to 2 years. There are provisions within the bill which ensures continuity. So the GLAA functions will continue under the Secretary of State until the Fair Work Agency begins to execute the work. So it will continue.
And so see, just thinking from a worker's point of view, from their point of view, in what ways will their terms and conditions what way will it be improved for them, for your average worker?
So this won't affect the average worker. What the bill is actually doing is ensuring that the work that the GLAA does will continue, and there are specific benefits associated with GLA licensing regime. I can explain some of the detail of how the licensing regime works and the benefits that brings about if the committee would find that helpful.
Yeah, well, if you have anything there,
certainly, yes. So the benefits of the GLAA are to ensure that all legislative statutory requirements that employment providers must adhere to are indeed adhered to. So it ensures that other labour providers that aren't licensed can't undercut those. So it really does focus on in protecting those workers' rights.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And is there any other issues of concern or of interest for DAERA that we should report to the Committee for Communities?
So we've obviously this has been a rapidly moving bill, and we've heavily scrutinised the bill, taken legal advice on it, and we are satisfied that it's like a rebranding, if you like, and there are specific benefits to be realised. So from that perspective, we don't have any concerns about the bill itself. We think actually that the creation of the Fair Work Agency and the bringing together of the enforcement functions will bring about specific benefits. And just coming back to the issue of workers on the ground, there will be no impact there, but actually this will be a single brand that they'll recognise. So if they have issues with employment's rights, rather than having to go to a number of different enforcement agencies, it'll be a single recognisable brand.
Mm. John?
Yeah, a quick one, Chair, just as I know it indicated that I wasn't going to ask a question and then contradicted myself, but I suppose it might be helpful if there were concerns raised by you, if you now realise they might be technical and it's already been dealt with, but if we and the DFC committee could be updated on any progress on that, it would be useful so that we know it's been resolved.
I can just explain what the issues were that they raised. So they raised 3 concerns, 2 of which DAERA is responding to. One was in relation to statutory sick pay, which we passed to colleagues in DFC to respond to. So the first was a request that any changes as a result of the bill be introduced gradually, so as to allow their members time to adjust. The answer to this is that there will be no change on the ground, and just as I've said, actually it will be easier for them to seek help when they need it. The second was a concern raised regarding the raft of legislation which their members must already comply with, and that this represents a further legislative burden. Again, the response to that is quite similar. There are no impacts anticipated as a result of this, particularly as the bill introduces consequential and saving provisions to legislation which already exists.
That's fair enough, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attendance here this morning. So, members, I'm presuming the committee, as the committees for communities are leading on the scrutiny of the LCM, will wish to receive a response from us. Are we supportive? Okay with this, LCM?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and okay, and we'll reflect that in our correspondence to the communities committee. Okay. Okay, members, going to move on. Number 10, a written briefing, outcome of the consultation on implementation of mandatory shape. May have said it. Nicola and Richard, thank you very much for coming up here.
Thank you for your time.
Apologies, Robbie would never have done that, would he?
See what, Chair. See what.
Members, so item 10, written briefing and the consultation up to the implementation of mandatory shaped carcass classification, pages 127 to 209 in the pack. The written briefing provides the outcome of the second consultation introducing mandatory shaped carcass classification and price reporting in NI, as well as automated carcass classification for both beef and sheep. The Department intends to publish these responses from the consultation, Annex A, and the outcome report, Annex B. This plan to implement a mandatory sheep scheme classification, sheep carcass classification scheme here. The powers to make regulations regarding carcass classification come from the Agriculture Act 2020 and will be subject to draft affirmative resolution. The Department intends to issue the SL1 on the SR after the Easter recess and will provide an oral briefing. The consultation covered the range of issues highlighted in the written briefing, and 3 bodies responded to the consultation: Mid-Rome Land Producers Group, UFU, and a representative of the NI meat processing industry. UFU and Mid-Rome Land Producers Group are broadly in favour of these proposals, though raised some concerns, which is disagreement about what weight bands to publish, concerns about cost to the processor, concerns about confidentiality if more data is published than currently, and concerns that minimum sampling numbers for automation method authorisation tests may be too low. The representative of the NI meat processing industry, however, believed a mandatory system was unnecessary given the existing robust voluntary scheme. In October 24, DEFRA announced the government's intention to introduce legislation to implement mandatory sheep carcass classification and price reporting in England. On the 22nd of October, DERA officials recommend to Minister Muir to agree to the introduction of mandatory sheep carcass classification and price reporting in the range of reasons given in the written briefing, including aligning the sheep industry with that of beef and pig, allowing for easier comparisons of here and British sheep industries, providing enforcement powers to ensure compliance. Any comments, members, because there's a oral briefing? Okay, all right, Patsy. We have an oral briefing from the department in due course anyway. Yeah. Correspondence, did it, refer you to correspondence. Dated 13th of February, pages 2011 to 2014, a pact from the Department regarding EU-UK emissions trading scheme post-2030 cap consultation. The Department is giving advance notice for the UK emissions trading scheme ETS authority publication of a focused 8-week consultation on extending the duration of the UK ETS beyond 2030. Further detail on these 3 topics is provided in Annex A, and a copy of the short consultation will be provided to the committee as soon as available. The authority have already signalled the intention to legislate to continue the UK ETS beyond 2030. Members, okay, note that. I refer you to the clerk's memo from the clerk to the committee the Committee for Finance dated 13th of February, pages 215 to 216 of the pack, with supporting information of 217 to 318 regarding the NICS sick absence levels. We considered a previous memo on this matter at our meeting on the 30th of January. The Committee for Finance remain extremely concerned about the analysis and information collated by DOF that points a worrying picture of increasing absence figures and the cost of the public purse. DOF has stated that there are currently no agreed targets to reduce sickness absence levels in the NICS. The Committee of Finance requests that all committees ask the Department it scrutinises what action they plan to take to respond to sick absence levels amongst their staff. The percentage of working days lost for each department is included in the attached correspondence from the Department of Finance. Members, you content to note that we write to DERA with this request?
Yeah.
Okay, comments? Write to DERA with this request. Refer the clerk's memo from the clerk to the Committee of Finance dated 13th of February at page 319 in the pack, with supporting information at page 320 and 338 regarding Open Government Network NI. The Committee for Finance received an oral briefing from the Open Government Network on the status of the Open Government in NI and agreed to forward the updated paper to other statutory committees for their information. Content note, members?
Content.
Okay. I refer to a series of further emails that the committee has been copied into between MAC Waste Limited and NIE Waste Regulations Unit at page 339 to 342 of the pack and to pages 226 to 228 of the table of papers regarding a hazard waste query and MAC Waste seeking confirmation that environmental legislation has been followed. Any comments? You're happy to note this? Members, page 29 to 30 of the table of papers for correspondence from the Department regarding the update on policy consultation for the Fisheries Bill. Dearest advise that there will be a delayed public consultation until late spring due to inability to secure a contractor to complete the strategic environmental assessment, which is a statutory requirement. The contractor who is conducting the SEAs for the Fisheries Management Plan was approached but did not have experience of primary legislation. A tender and specification was issued but no applications were received. Options are now being considered to conduct the environmental assessment in-house using expert scientific input. Any comments or happy enough to note? Right, members, page 238 of the table of papers for notification of the next series of outreach parliaments, which will be the Women's Parliament, taking place on Friday 28th of February in the Assembly Chamber between 1 and 3 p.m. Members, it is an invitation to the committee chairpersons, committee members and committee clerk to attend a roundtable discussion with participants in the long gallery and be an opportunity to meet with the participants to hear concerns and solutions on a range of issues. Content note, members. Forward work programme. Draft forward programme can be found in the table of papers 240, 242. We had an email yesterday from the clerk yesterday highlighting that it's almost 10 months since the committee's strategic planning day in April, and the chair has requested to plan for another one soon as he was not in post at our last one. The clerk, having reviewed the forward work programme, notes that there is scope on the 13th of March due to not requiring time reserved for evidence sessions on the Agriculture Bill that day. The chair requests that members consider doing a shorter formal meeting that day and then moving into a private planning meeting from 12 to 2 or 2:30, and lunch will be provided. The number of potential options: the committee could remain in room 21 here or move to another room in Parliament buildings, for example the private dining room or room 115, or we could move to a room in a close location, as members are often keen to do these sessions out of Parliament buildings, for example before sports pavilion on the estate. Firstly, are you content that we go ahead with a follow-up planning session on 13th of March? Any particular views on where we want to hold it?
Here?
Yeah.
I would stay here. Okay. Okay, we can agree that the forward work programme should be published. Members, any other business? Okay. Okay, members, the next meeting will be Thursday, the 27th of February, 2025, in Parliament Buildings, 10 a.m. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Committee Room 21. Sound. 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 Committee Room 21.